In today's video, we're going to talk about how to stop stress eating step by step. What's up, guys? It's Anthony from AB Fitness Center, where we help you to lose body fat, gain muscle, and get stronger. All right, so before we get started with the step-by-step guide to stop stress eating, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never, ever miss a beat and you get top-notch, applicable information right away. So before we even get started with the step-by-step tips to help you to stop stress eating, because I understand that stress eating is a big issue. You know, it is something that happens. It happens to me all the time. I get stressed out from work, or I get stressed out from home and the kids and whatever, and I just feel like raiding the fridge. It's something that happens totally, so I get it. And I realize that there are certain step-by-step things that we can do to prevent that. But I want to tell you this, and we're going to start this off by preferencing, you have to understand that you can only control what you can control. Sometimes life throws things at us and throws punches at us that, you know, Mike Tyson had a famous saying, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. So if you look at the pandemic that happened, like COVID, that punched everybody in the face. Everybody's plans got derailed from that, right? So, but you can only control what you can control. So the only thing I can control during the pandemic and just anything else in life is my own actions and my own self. So I chose to use the pandemic as a time to better myself and do things to better myself. I've read a lot of books during the pandemic. I've taken care of myself. I've gotten more rest. So I controlled the things that I have to control. So you have to remember that when it comes to stress and just stress in general. You can only control what you can control. And sometimes when you binge and you go crazy and you end up stress eating, you lost control totally. And now you're going to feel bad about it, you're going to feel worse, and it's going to lead you to temporarily keep doing it and keep binging. So we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So with that said, again, just wanted to clear the air here, and you have to be able to, first and foremost, I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but you can only control what you can control. So you got to remember that, especially when it comes to stress. But there are four step-by-steps that I like to implement for myself, and I think will help you with stress eating as well. So, number one, you want to make sure that you're eating a well-balanced diet all the time. You know, so let's give you a little story here. So let's just say, for example, I didn't plan out my food for the day. I don't have any food with me. I was at work all day and I missed lunch because I was busy at work. I was too stressed at work. Now I'm on my way home. My wife's aggravating me. The kids are bothering me. So now I'm hungry already. I'm just super stressed out, and your brain can only take so much stuff, right? It's like a gas tank. It can only fill so much. And you get to that tipping point where you're like, forget it. I don't care what I'm eating for dinner. I'm just going to eat everything. Whereas if you would have prepared for your day a little bit earlier in the day, and you would have had meals set up, and you would have eaten lunch and eaten something after lunch and maybe before you got home, you would be less likely to raid the fridge, because not only were you stressed, but your hunger and your stomach was bothering you, you became hungry, and that made you more stressed. It's a cycle. So if you have a well-balanced meal throughout the day and you eat throughout the day, that'll help you to control the stress, because not only will you be, you'll be stressed, but you won't be hungry and stressed, which is worse, which is like I think it's Snickers commercial, hangry or hungry, whatever, grab a Snickers. That's the same idea, right? So it's like when you're hungry and stressed, it's way worse than just being stressed. So we want to try to avoid that food when you're stressed. So by eating more throughout the day. So even if I have a stressful day at work, and I feel like those urges to come where I feel like I want to eat the fridge or eat the cabinet, I'll literally just make myself a quick protein shake and I'll drink that. And then, 20 minutes later, I'm not hungry. I'm still maybe stressed, but it will lead me to stop eating more. All right, so that's the first thing that I do. So you got to preface this by saying that your diet should always be balanced, and you should be eating a well-balanced diet throughout the day. I know it sounds like foo-foo, but it's the truth. Because if you're not hungry at work and then you're stressed, you're just stressed at that point. You're not hungry and stressed, which is way worse. All right, so number two, I want you to almost cool down. And one of the ways that I cool down from being stressed is to go for a nice walk. So typically what I'll do when I get really, really stressed out, I have dogs. I have 4 dogs actually. I will take my dogs for a walk. I'll come home. I'll just tell my wife hey, look, I just need 10 minutes to unwind. I'll grab the dogs and I'll go for a nice walk around the block. No headphones or anything, just and just kind of woosah, like Bad Boys 2, woosah. And just walk it off, take a deep breath, and try to de-stress. Again, also making sure that I'm fulfilled stomach-wise, right? If I'm hungry and stressed, it's going to be way worse, and then I'm going to burn some calories walking. It's going to be way worse. So like typically if I'm stressed, I'll come home, I'll grab a shake, and then I'll just tell my wife, all right, I'm going for a walk with the dogs. I'll grab the dogs, and I'll go for a nice walk, and I'll just kind of cool down. That's really, really important to do that, especially because like I said, you can only control what you can control, but sometimes life gets in the way. Like I said, sometimes you get punched in the face and you got to kind of recover from that. And sometimes a good walk is a good way to unwind and to de-stress yourself, right? Maybe it's a drive in the car. Maybe just drive aimlessly sometimes. You have to figure out kind of what you can do. This is just what I do, right? The third step, and most people will go for a cup of coffee at this point or something. Again, if they're really stressed, if they smoke, they go for a cigarette. I wouldn't recommend grabbing coffee. I wouldn't recommend doing that, because if you add a stimulant to being stressed, you're going to be stressed, and you're going to be stressed really caffeinated. So if you're hungry, stressed, and caffeinated, that's going to be way worse, because then you're going to raid the fridge that much faster. So we don't want that at all. So what I would recommend, if you're typically someone who does it when they get stressed, they go and they grab something, or they have like a coffee, I would recommend having like a decaf coffee. Have a nice decaf coffee, again, or a tea, something to unwind. Make sure it's decaf though. So again, I like to go for a walk. I'll grab a protein shake. If I don't grab the protein shake, or if I'm not hungry when I'm stressed, I will grab like a decaf coffee or a decaf tea. And again, I'll just use it to unwind. I'll grab the tea, I'll kind of maybe go outside, maybe I'll go for a walk with my tea. But again, that kind of helps. Also, it also helps to calm your stomach down too, because if you're really hungry and you have a nice decaf tea or decaf coffee, that'll help cut your appetite down, and it'll be less likely for you to raid the fridge and the freezer and all the goodies in the cabinet. So that's the other thing too. And the fourth thing that I usually do, my fourth step in all this, which actually should kind of be number one, and it kind of should be, 1A, because this is like before, but this one is to remove all the foods in your house that you know are a trigger food for you. Trigger foods are foods that set you off, that make you go ballistic, that like Pringles says, you can't have one. Once you pop, you can't stop. That's essentially what Doritos are for me. Doritos are my essential weakness. And if there's Doritos there and I start eating them, and I'm eating the entire bag. So what I do, since I'm the one that does the food shopping for my house, I just don't buy the foods that I'm weak against. So like for me, I'm not a cookies or cake guy. Never really my thing. But so, I just don't buy the things that trigger me. Because if you buy the things that trigger you and you're stressed, you're hungry, and you're caffeinated, like I said, you're going to go right for that food because you know it's there. So that's one of the key things also, is to make sure that before being even stressed, don't buy the foods that trigger you. All right, so let's summarize all this in one flow chart here. All right, so when you're stressed, just remember, you can only control what you can control. That's first and foremost. That's the most important thing. You can only control what you can control. So keep that in mind. But to avoid stress eating, you have to make sure that one, you're following a nice balanced diet, and that you're eating constantly throughout the day. Because like I said, being hungry and stressed is way worse. So you don't want to be hungry and stressed. You could be stressed, but you don't want to be hungry and stressed, because that's going to make you stress eat. All right. Number two, make sure that you go outside or do some type of activity that cools you down. Maybe some type of exercise, or maybe, like I said, like a nice walk with the dog always calms me down. So you got to find whatever that is for you and do that. The third step that I also use is to use a decaffeinated beverage. Again, just to kind of cut that appetite. It'll kill that hunger in your body. So having a nice big glass of like decaf coffee, a cup of decaf coffee, or a nice big cup of decaffeinated tea, maybe while you're on your walk, will help to cool you down and kind of settle you down without keeping you hungry. And the fourth thing, make sure that any of foods that trigger you are gone. Cut them. All right. So guys, that's what I recommend step by step to help you to stop stress eating. Just the main thing, guys, you got to remember, you can only control what you can control. So if your kids are really sick, or you have one of those bad days at work, just remember, you can only control your own actions. If you eat, it's not gonna solve that problem. My kids are sick today, whatever, I'm having a really bad day, but if I eat this pint of ice cream, it's gonna make me feel better for the 2 seconds in my mouth, but once I swallow that, it's done. And I'm gonna be more stressed that I overate, I'm gonna wake up the next morning, I'm gonna feel like crap, so keep that in mind. Guys, if you thought this was helpful, drop me a like, hit that little like button, the thumbs up button, let me know that I'm doing a good job, and also comment below and let me know how you deal with stress. I'm curious how others deal with stress and deal with stress eating. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next one, and thanks for watching.